How's it going, everyone? See Rupert Lowe, MP for Great Yarmouth, Member of Parliament for Great Yarmouth in England. It's called for a referendum on the death penalty. Now, Rupert Lowe used to be in Reform, which are, if there was an election today, the next government, let's have it right, of the United Kingdom. Not quite sure what went on with the Reform Party. I think there were some accusations made against him. Not sure whether they were founded or unfounded, not sure. Either way, he was found innocent, went off on his Todd, but he's still an MP. So he called today in Parliament for a referendum on whether the death penalty should be brought back in the United Kingdom. Mate, there's so many reasons why that's insane. What makes me laugh, though, about these particular MPs, the 4 MPs that were elected as Reform, and obviously, like I say, Rupert Lowe no longer is, but he was elected as a Reform MP, is that they're touted as being anti-establishment. So you've got Richard Tice, you've got Lee Anderson, which is not far from where I live, to be fair, and Nigel Farage. They're still Reform, obviously. All of which are establishment men, completely, but for some bizarre reason, they've managed to hoodwink the public into believing they're not. And then there's Rupert Lowe. So you've got the left. I say left and right don't mean anything anymore, I get that, but what you would assume would be the left, so the Labour Party, pushing for the assisted dying bill to come through to basically be able to euthanise the population. And of course it will start off with those that are terminally ill and dying in pain, and then it will go on to those that aren't terminally ill but are in pain, and then it will become, well, those that aren't physically in pain but are mentally in pain, and then it will be those that have disabilities, and in the end it's a free-for-all. Because that's what happens with assisted dying bills, as it has done in Canada and as it has done in Holland. So you've got them pushing for that, so killing people then, and then you've got those on the right, like Rupert Lowe, pushing for a referendum on the death penalty, so killing people then. And you look at it and you go, right, it's almost like we're the carbon they seek to reduce, isn't it? Now, some of you might be watching this, we're going, well, what's wrong with the death penalty? At the end of the day, if you've done something abhorrent, if you've killed someone, then why not? Well, if killing's wrong, why would you kill someone for killing? That doesn't really make any sense to me. That's like either it's wrong or it's not. Oh mate, this is muddy, I'm going to slip over. The other thing as well, and Rupert Lowe was basically alluding to this when he was talking about the kind of people that they would target with this sort of death penalty, is terrorists. And you think, oh yeah, I bet a suicide bomber's going to be well deterred by the death penalty, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Oh, I was going to blow up, my vest, and blow up myself and a load of people on a bus, but I won't bother now just in case I get the death penalty. So that doesn't work on that level. And then the other element of it is, what if they're innocent? Now, if someone languishes away in a prison for 20, 30 years, that's horrific, that's abhorrent for something that they've not done. But they're not dead, so you can at least try and turn it round. You know, I interviewed a guy who's a former police chief who's trying to get this guy out of prison as we speak. He's been in prison for over 30 years for a crime, he says, not only a crime that he says he didn't commit, but actually it doesn't actually look like the crime was actually committed. Basically, someone died while being off their head, and they've blamed it on him, and he's been in prison for 30 years, and he was only sentenced to 13 years. But he refused to plead guilty. And so when he went for his parole hearings, and they obviously want him to say, oh no, I feel really bad for what I did and I've learned from it, I won't be a danger to society, he would have been out. But he refused to do that, because he's like, well, no, I'm not going to admit I did something when I didn't do it. And so his wife's died now with him in prison and all this sort of stuff. It's a horrendous story. He's a Zimbabwean guy, but he's in prison in England. Well, he'd be dead now, wouldn't he? If the death penalty was in there, it's murder, mate. It's capital punishment, you're done. And then you go, well, let's think of some other high profile ones then, in terms of terrorism. So, the Guildford 4 IRA bombers, they were released in my lifetime, actually, the 80s, I think, maybe even the early 90s they were released. Well, they'd be dead. Birmingham 6, again, they'd be dead. And even more recently, Lucy Letby. Now, Lucy Letby's banged to rights, apparently, but there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that got a lot of questions there, mate. A lot of questions. Well, she'd be dead. She's killed 8 babies and tried to kill another 8 babies. She'd be dead. Between 2007 and 2017, there's 84 wrongful convictions, including life sentences for murder, that have been overturned because they didn't do it. And they were able to prove they didn't do it. So it begs the question, how many people are languishing in prisons in the United Kingdom for crimes they didn't do, but are yet to be able to prove it, or yet to be able to find some evidence, or someone that believes them, or someone that will work pro bono to get them out, or whatever? Well, if there's 84 innocent people that have had their convictions quashed, do you know what I mean? It's not a massive conspiracy theory to go, well, there's probably a hell of a lot more that haven't had it quashed, right, that are in prison. Well, they're dead then, particularly the ones that are there for murder. And then you go, well, okay, all right then, fine. Only for people that you can like 100% prove, like you can prove without any doubt, like there's no doubt they did it. Okay, well, like what? How'd you prove that? Well, they were caught on video. I've seen the video, it was them. Okay, might have been able to get away with that to a certain degree 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Not that I believe in the death penalty anyway, but I'm just, you know, trying to counteract their excuse, I guess. But with AI and deepfakes, just because you saw a video of someone doing something, does that mean they did it? Like beyond a reasonable doubt, to the point where you will sentence that person to death? I would say no. I would say no, you can't beyond reasonable doubt prove that. Because, you know, we've all seen AI on social media, even at that level, on social media. And you think, with the ability to make things look so believable that aren't real, completely unreal, who says you wouldn't suddenly end up in a situation like, oh mate, what was the film? Running Man, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. Now, that film was in 1987, pretty sure it was 1987, where they basically use video footage that's doctored, bear in mind it's 1987, video footage that's doctored to convict Arnold Schwarzenegger's character of basically massacring a load of people, shooting at a big crowd of people from a helicopter. Well, if you saw that video, oh, that's it, yeah, bang to rights, death penalty, I believe in it, because I've seen it, it's 100% beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, but is it though? So there's that element. And the other element, ladies and gentlemen, because there'll be a lot of people that are more right-leaning probably, that are more aligned with Rupert Lowe's opinion in terms of capital punishment, particularly when it comes to terrorism, particularly when it comes to, you know, horrific crimes like the Southport stabbings of those poor young kids, you know, by Axel Rubikip Cabana, the Welsh lad, and all that stuff. But these are the same people that will accept that we live under an authoritarian government, a massively authoritarian government, and it's not even just Labour that's authoritarian, let's have it right, because the Conservative Party that were before them, they were the ones that shut everyone down through COVID and you know, got people fired from their jobs and all that kind of stuff for refusing to take the jab and that kind of thing. And also, they were putting people in prison for social media posts long before Starmer came to power. You know, yes, it's expanded massively under Labour, but it didn't start with them. So suddenly this authoritarian government that you don't trust to give you a digital ID, you don't trust with your freedom of speech and freedom of expression because you accept the fact that they put people in prison for tweets, right? You then want to give them the authority to not only throw you in prison for something you said on social media, not only be able to, you know, basically kick you out of society via a digital ID, in terms of, you know, where you go and whether you can travel on public transport and all that kind of stuff, which of course is what goes on in China with the social credit system and is what the digital ID is about. So you will protest against that because you know that they will use that power for nefarious motives, right? They're authoritarians, that's what they do. So you know that they will police your tweets, throw you in prison for things you say. They can basically kick you out of society and control where you can go, what you can purchase, and all these things once they have you know, managed to get their digital ID in if we don't fight back hard enough. So you'll accept that, and you'll accept that these people had people sacked from their jobs for refusing to take an experimental medical procedure which has caused unbelievable death and harm across the world. So you'll accept that bit. But you would accept also, on top of that, the idea that maybe we could vote for the death penalty. And in doing so, you would give those very people, those very authoritarian people that you accept will use these powers for nefarious motives, you will give them the power to, by law, be able to legally murder their own citizens. I mean, I don't even know where to go with that. Because if they had the ability to murder their own citizens, are we honestly suggesting that they wouldn't use it to get rid of enemies, political enemies, dissidents, anyone else that they see as a threat or a problem to the status quo? Of course they would. Of course they freaking would. And you know they would. So when it comes to having a referendum and the opportunity to vote on whether they should bring back the death penalty, mate, be careful what you wish for. Seriously, be careful what you wish for. Because you might go there and think, oh, that's a great idea because it will get rid of terrorists. Well, define terrorist. Because, trust me, conspiracy theorists, they still like to use that term as if it's a derogatory term anymore. But conspiracy theorists, the idea that they wouldn't suddenly be rebranded into domestic terrorists, and that's not actually a reach because they're already doing that and have done that for a few years in the United States at least, where suddenly you're a danger. Yeah, you're a danger. Far right, terrorists, conspiracy theorists, domestic terrorists, yeah. So suddenly the idea of you voting and going, oh yeah, well if it gets rid of terrorists, well what if you're a terrorist suddenly? You don't have to be one, do you? But if they can accuse you of being one, then you're ripe for picking as well, aren't you? So I would say, killing's wrong anyway. It doesn't matter who's doing it, it's wrong. But at the same time, to be able to at least to be even at a position where you consider yourself to be anti-establishment as an MP, but you're in Parliament, even just floating the idea in the atmosphere, just floating the idea that the state could be given the power to murder its citizens is frickin' bonkers to me. Absolutely bonkers. And if it's something that the state wants, in the end, then you can guarantee that should they give the people that referendum, in the lead up to that vote, there will be so much stuff going off in terms of terrorism, in terms of horrendous murders, in terms of just abhorrent acts that will push, little nudge on the population to click yes or to tick yes on that ballot sheet. Like I say, it's mad to me. We need to be careful what we wish for sometimes, folks.